Test 1, 2.
All right. And we're live.
Are we really? Now?
Wait, maybe I should turn on the light.
Now.
Now we're live.
That was the backlighting we needed.
That was it.
Good thing you're using
Believe
those webcam
I know. No, that's
lighting.
That's the TikTok girl tutorial light ring for doing our makeup tutorials. Like,
Oh, that's
my
right.
foundation
And then
first.
you add the ceiling lamp or the high incandescent.
I feel pretty.
Yep.
Oh, so pretty.
He does this all. He
They
does that
call
on
me
Sundays.
Ishmael. How about Moby Dick?
I reference anger management so much with Jack Nicholson.
Oh, do you? No, you don't.
Somebody.
Wait a minute. Jack who?
Nicholson. Is that not right?
Have we started drinking already? Let me say, whenever we start slurring our words, I think we need to toast. Toast.
Toast, salud.
Thank you, Jeanette.
Salud.
Let me get my drink.
You're like you're almost there. There we go, salud.
Salud.
So,
Very good.
Is it Jack Nicholson? Nicholson, right?
Nicholson. He's not Jack Nicholson.
Hey, I've had a slur my whole life. I do not
How
know.
about,
list
is it
my whole
Santa
life.
Claus or Saint Nicholson?
Nicholson. Say Nicholson.
Jack Nichols? It's not Jack Nichols. Nicholson.
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 Now I'm going to say
What was I
Now
saying?
the pro
You said
golfer is
Nicholson.
Nicholas.
Nicholson.
Nicholson.
The golfer is Nicholas, and Jeanette's talking about necklaces.
I didn't realize you were wearing that pearl necklace when you got here.
There were no pearls. No pearls.
Wow, we started off with a bang,
We came out hot and heavy there.
Wow, I think there's a lot of pent up energy in this room.
Guns
Wait a
blazing.
minute.
Again, going back to anger management, Goosefaba.
Fusbaba.
Calm down. Remember, calm down. Goosefaba.
I'm
Bring
gonna
it
have
back
to watch
down.
that movie
Goosefaba.
today.
Dude, it's been like 3 weeks for us. Dario,
wild.
you've been out for like a month.
3 months.
3 months.
Cheers to Dario.
Well, it's ever since the school started.
Yeah, it's kicking. It's
Wow.
kicking
Yeah.
your-
Wow.
Yeah, I can't comment online what school it is.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Because at some point I may have to be
Yeah.
a public figure.
We and it's kind of curious. We were talking about like politics in school and all that, and
Yeah.
I firmly stand behind taking politics out of school.
I totally agree.
You know, teach kids to be kids. Teach them how to learn. Teach them the basics that they need for future in life. You don't need to get kids pronouns and all this political nonsense, and when they're in grade school.
Oh my god.
Exactly.
It's
You
good.
know?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know what we would call Jeanette if she was in second grade right now. I mean,
Honey.
horror.
That's so bad. That's second grade, dude. Oh my god.
Mark.
Okay,
Don't
okay.
let your kids around this.
So,
guy.
any of my friends that don't know Jeanette, they're probably thinking like, Mark's friend is so scandalous.
I know.
They probably think like, how many guys were he saying? Like, it's like a gaggle. of them.
Jeanette,
I don't know.
I think Mark is mistaken. I think they think Mark is being scandalous by saying
And
those things.
he uses my name to describe
His own behavior.
I know. So
There's a
you know
psychological detail.
so he needs to.
Jeanette's a
include
wonderful
me,
person. She's hardworking and
Absolutely.
she's intelligent.
And then he's
But-
gonna say
But
something.
no,
But he just said but negated everything prior to that.
I just like to come in. I just like to come
He
in here
does.
with, like, if Jeanette will meet somebody nice and she's in the crowd and she composes herself and she goes, "Oh, that's very funny, bitches, ha ha ha." And, they're just doing that whole thing where they're like, "Oh my god, that's so crazy, ha ha ha." But she does that. She's very good. She can compose herself and all that. So you need somebody to come in here and be like, Jeanette, where are the twins that you were pumping last night? I mean, were they go home already?
You need
Like,
to- Mark is the sound of the screeching brakes in the soundtrack during a movie where it goes like you goes one direction and then suddenly Mark comes in from the side, T-bones the whole thing and goes and it just rotates on 360.
Okay. You need a friend like that, though.
Everybody needs a friend like that.
Everybody needs a friend.
The old lady trying to cross the street, and you think he's gonna help her. He pushes her over and drives the fuck off.
Get the hell out of the road, old lady.
You're about to
No.
get my way.
I wouldn't push her, but as she was walking across the street, I would put my phone on and I'd put like stripper music, and I would just start grinding on her as we were walking across the street.
See, that was a whole other direction. You see how he did that? He does
wait.
that in such a good way, doesn't he? He's talented.
So he's
Mark is talented.
Oh my god.
Oh my God.
Well, to this episode, we dedicate it to the drink of the day.
Drink of the day.
which
Thank you,
is-
Jeanette.
Thank you,
No,
Jeanette.
What
thank
is
you.
it?
This is a watermelon cucumber margarita.
Really good, really
Yes.
refreshing. I think we could have made the whole thing, the whole watermelon though.
Yeah.
Because we only got out of half the water, or no, a quarter of the watermelon.
Quarter.
Yeah, we
There's-
only got a couple of drinks, and then we'll just finish it off with White Claws. Again,
This is good.
you're
Very
gonna
good.
you're gonna spend a little time with us.
Like
grab
a
a drink.
appetizer.
Yeah, grab a drink. Hang out with us. Spend some time with us. Drink responsibly.
Absolutely.
I always, yeah.
Drink responsibly and put down your car.
Yeah, come along and have a laugh with us. So, man, I got like tons I want to talk about today. Like just tons. I mean, I don't even know where to start.
Look, we got to give this man a
Okay.
shot,
Okay. I mean, I always touch base on Ukraine. They're still doing well. They're still holding on. Shaken, not stirred. Shaken, not stirred.
Yes, sir.
You know what I was watching? I did a lot of war stuff these last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I watched a lot of videos about Afghanistan. I saw Charlie Wilson's war.
Okay.
The right of a country to exist, to not be invaded. Do you know what I mean? Like, I was like, there's a lot of talk about Ukraine. We're supporting Western, all this, Western, that. But you know what? Hey, every other country, they've kind of done this. You know what I mean? Afghanistan, they fought for their freedom. We gave them arms. We gave them a lot of arms.
Yeah.
We did that. We weren't directly involved like we are now. We're kind of seeing the same thing, whether you like it or not. I mean,
You know who's supporting the Russians now?
who's that?
The Chinese.
Are they openly supporting them now? Because
Or is that just
the
speculation?
Chinese did not want to openly give the Russians arms because they don't want to be embargoed by the United States.
Oh, your lights flickering
Stay focused.
like a moth.
Squirrel.
Miss ADHD over there. Do you see the fire truck? But the Chinese,
Why?
the Chinese,
Yeah,
they don't want to be
Chinese are-
embargoed, but they're not turning their back on them, but they don't want to support them. North Korea wants to support them, but what the hell is North Korea going to give them besides snow? They don't manufacture anything. Tehran gives them drones. Okay, I mean, a lot of people are supporting Ukraine. It's 1980 Cold War battle lines.
It is.
That's all it is.
It is. And we're probably testing a lot of our equipment over there.
We are. That's another thing I was reading about.
Yeah.
Like, we're getting real-time results on advanced weaponry that we haven't used because we didn't use it in Iraq because it was only in an insurgency, so we didn't need, like, open warfare technology. So we're actually testing new stuff out there. We're testing our current stuff.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting. Like,
Thank you.
a lot of things at play.
Yeah.
But
I don't see where this is all. I mean, what day are we at now? Remember when we were
like
saying we're at
400. It's like
Jeez,
400.
it's like over a year.
So they've been at it for over a year. And look at just to put it as I try to eat and talk at the same time. Put it in the context. How many years was Vietnam?
7?
7 years?
I don't
6,
know.
7 years, something like that. When it was from
And Iraq was over 10?
no, Iraq and Afghanistan was like 20 years.
Oh my God.
And then Afghanistan, I think, was 4 to 6 years somewhere in there. I don't know exact dates, but it was something like 4 to 6 years. So Ukraine's only gone through 1 year. Do you know what I mean? Like, so I mean, we definitely haven't seen the end of it. It's gonna keep on going. I think they're gonna do it though. I think in the long run they're gonna hold on. These people showed, and the deal is they're fighting for their home.
Yeah.
They're not fighting to overthrow Saddam Hussein. They're not fighting for this or for that. These are just people that they're in a wartime economy. People, they go back to Kyiv and all. You see these videos where they come back and see their loved ones. They're fighting for home.
Yeah.
American Revolution. We fought for home. You know what I mean? Like,
It's weird when Crimea was first invaded. Maybe 2 years prior to
Yeah.
Ukraine portion of it, but nobody really did much.
it was a soft invasion. They talked about little green men being there. They thought they were Russians, but they thought maybe there were these people in Ukraine that wanted independence, and then it just happened all at once.
Yeah.
And now Russia talks about Crimea like if it was always theirs. But you know what's funny is I've been going down these history roads lately. The Crimean War.
When was that?
I was like in at the end of the 100-Year War or something, or around that time.
That was the same area. That
same area, like thousands, like a lot of
stuff just
people
repeats
died there
itself.
in Crimea. It was between like Russia, France, Britain, Prussia.
And
But
we're hearing
there's-
about World War One and the Battle of the Somme. The
Somme.
battle of there's two
Battles of the
huge
Somme.
big battles of that define the movements of the troops in trench warfare. Blah blah blah. You know where I learned all that stuff?
Mark.
No, well, no, I was Peaky Blinders. What was that show?
Oh,
with
that
the,
was good.
was it called the Peaky
Yeah,
Blinders?
the Peaky Blinders.
Oh,
and the-
okay, yeah.
It referenced a lot of those things, and
Yeah.
you start learning some of those topics and
You know,
shows.
I'm just kind of a history idiot, and it's hard to learn the full scope of everything because there's so much to learn. I mean, there's just so much. I don't know if you really learn it all, but it's challenging to learn it in a way that's not skewed that we're good, they're bad. Do you know what I mean? Because
I like learning it on a timeline. Like
Yeah.
if you had a timeline behind you of like the beginning of time to today,
Right.
or the beginning of like modern, maybe from the 1700s to today, and you just saw what was going on in Europe, countries of Europe, what was going on in the U.S.
like
we'd
at
be
the same time.
yeah, like we'd be fighting the Civil War in 1860. What was going on in
like
Denmark
right
and
before that was
Germany?
the Denmark Russian, like 10, 20 years before.
Right.
Right before that, you have the French Revolution. While we're doing the Civil War,
When was the French Revolution?
they were coming out because, okay, I'll look it up right now, but I don't know if this is connected.
That's something that's funny. You talked about learning history through shows. I'm obsessed with watching Outlander, and right now there's a part of the
I want to
season
watch that.
where they're actually going through the Civil War.
1789.
Yeah.
That began with the States
No, it's
Okay,
General.
think
Civil
about
War.
that.
It's not the
1789,
Civil War.
1776, United States
But
independence.
Do you know the United States caused the French Revolution?
That's what I'm thinking.
no, we did.
Think about
they went
where Benjamin
bankrupt.
Franklin was.
The French went bankrupt we were the proxy war. It was the
We
Cold War.
used their weapons.
It was the Cold War
against
back
the British.
then. Because you know how we were fighting a proxy war with Russia through Ukraine? Mm-hmm. France was fighting a proxy war with England
Through us.
The United States.
Now, they fought a very costly war directly. So the war before the American Revolution was a world war. The French and Indian War. It was against French and England.
You like that show. You
they
like
fought-
it.
The French and Indian War. Let's go back to that. What was that again?
It was the French. It's called the French and Indian War because.
But it was between the French and the British in the colonies?
Yes, we call it the French and Indian because the majority of the Indians aligned themselves with the French. Right, so we call it the French and Indian War. But it was the British colony. There was fighting here in the States between the colonies, the British colonies and the French. The French and the British were fighting in Europe. What was that one Russell Crowe movie, Out at Sea, where he's out at sea on the battleship?
Master and Commander.
French and Indian War.
Oh my God! See, I love this stuff. How it just kind of like
It-
blends in
So-
together.
So the Master and Commander is kind of true. So there was a guy that he's based off of. He was running down off the coast of South America, pirating against French ships. So they were literally sea battles off the coast of South America. They were fighting in Europe. They were fighting in the North America. They were fighting in the Indies.
What were they fighting about?
It was colonialism.
So
It
about
was
conquest of
the
lands?
monarch. So in the who knows? I mean, I'd have
was
to.
there
I'd
like-
have to look it up. I'd have to look it up.
Land, territory.
And then,
I mean,
and then you have the monarch. The monarchs always said we have claim to this, claim
Yeah.
to this, and then there's trade rights because there's all the money in trades and back then. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I'd have to find out the ultimate root of the French and Indian War.
Can you
but-
imagine if you're an alien coming to Earth, and with
we'll
your
talk about
and your lifespan as an alien was,
Good
you know,
husband,
1,000 years. Let's say your lifespan was 500 years, because you'd need some sort of lifespan just to traverse space.
Uh-huh.
And you land here and you say, "Man, these guys are insects.
These
They're
guys are
constantly
idiots.
battling each other, and they're constantly fighting over this and that anthill and this anthill.
Got it. Okay, well, very general. What were the 3 causes of the French and Indian War? Let's see. Identify in detail 5 major causes of the French and Indian War. Conflict claims between Great Britain and France over territory, waterways, beaver trade, religious differences, and control of the Grand Banks. And what else? So those are some of the major causes of the Grand. So
I remember in Minnesota we talk about the French-Canadian fur traders that would come down from the
but there was a
Canadian
lot of money in that
French.
back then.
Oh, hold on a second. It's French-Canadian. You know that the island, the Oak Island, the mystery of Oak Island, the curse of Oak Island,
Yeah,
during this time frame.
And they're all trying to dig up the pirates' gold.
Yeah, this is when the French probably were going through Canada, funding their war in the United States and bearing treasure on Nova Scotia.
So you have pirating was interesting back then. You had open pirates that raided vessels to still rape
Whether
and
they
plunder.
be
Yeah.
French or
But
British.
in times of war, your government would legalize pirateering. So you could have your own ship, and you could say, "I'm going to be a pirateer of British," and so I can go pirate French ships, and there would be no legal recourse.
So,
to
but
it.
what would just stop them from raising their flag, depending on who they were battling?
Well, yeah. I
They
mean,
could
right?
raise, you
Right.
know, this month I'm going to be on the British side
Yeah,
because that ship is bigger than
a lot
me.
of gray area, right?
Yeah, so and then
Well-
next month I'll be on this. I don't know,
But it was
Anyway,
completely legal back then. You could be a pirateer for the war effort and go pirate the enemy ships.
And you
Trade ships.
instead of being hung from both sides, you'd just be hung from one side.
Be like Jack Sparrow.
Yeah, that was I love that movie where when he comes into
Hey,
port.
Dario, do you love that movie?
I love that movie. I love that show. I love that movie. All right, we got.
Oh, that was awesome.
That was a toast. If I slurred my words, we have to do a toast. Here you go.
Cheers.
Cheers.
That movie.
I can't dish it out
movie.
if I gotta
Are
take
you
it.
guys interested in watching Oppenheimer?
I am.
I really want to watch.
Okay,
that one.
so I love historic movies, but part of historic movies is Hollywood has this leeway to do, what do they call it, artistic indulgence or whatever. So like Napoleon, I think Napoleon's going to be interesting. I think it's good to look back at history.
Who's gonna play Napoleon?
Joaquin Phoenix,
Really?
Oh,
I could see that.
I could
But-
see that.
I could see that.
but the artistic license that Hollywood takes, you know, a lot of people, they don't study history, they don't read the way they used to. So if they see it on the big screen,
Oh
they-
wait, big screen. The big screen. There we go. Cheers.
Cheers.
Salud. Yeah, this is a new game.
You know what sucks about this game is though, I have my natural lisp.
You do?
I've
You have
always,
a lisp?
I've always, if you listen, I've always had a lisp.
I just thought
Yeah.
that was you, Mark.
And you
was
what's
just-
I was always
crazy?
drunk.
You know
An
what's crazy?
endearing quality
You
of Mark.
even text like that.
I do.
Your cell phone gives you.
Because I do voice to text, and that's why it
Is
gives me
that
different.
why?
It gives me different words because sometimes it picks up my lisp.
Is that
Yeah,
why? I
that
thought
is
it was
correct.
just
So
your
what is a
texting.
lisp?
As a child, I was a Spanish speaker, and when I grew up, I went English only, and they worked to get rid of that and all that. And there's been an enduring little lisp from that tongue movement that has never fully gone away. Even though I cannot speak like a native Spanish speaker anymore, but my English as well. But my English always has that little lisp that remained from speaking Spanish as a child.
That's why the girls love you.
Hola, señorita. so I haven't. It's interesting to watch history
Yes.
on the big screen because a lot of people take it for fact,
Yeah.
and there's so much artistic indulgence with Hollywood. So yeah, I want to watch Oppenheimer. Good movie.
Do you
I
think
wanna
it's
watch
biased? Do you think is there a slant
Well,
to it?
if you've
Yeah.
read history and
Yeah.
if you've read that part of, like for me, what I'm interested in, because I was asking a friend how.
Jeanette, what
when
are you
she
interested in?
Well, she says like the first hour of the movie it talks about the science of like creating the bomb.
Mm-hmm.
So for her it was super
Mm.
boring. But to me, I thought it was interesting because I like to watch documentaries, and I I had seen this documentary about how the hydrogen bomb, they were doing testing out at Bikini Island, and the difference between the atomic bomb and the hydrogen bomb is a molecule.
So did they put a did they put a bikini on the hydrogen bomb?
No,
Oh,
but
how
the
funny.
but the
Of
girls were
course.
wearing bikinis.
When they were there, do you think they got a suntan?
Oh my God, they got
So check this out.
They got
So
burned.
Radiation
the,
burn.
the Manhattan Project was done here in New Mexico. The bomb was tested over there in
That's
White
why,
Sands.
yes.
So get this: the governor of New Mexico didn't even know that they exploded the A bomb, and the
How did she not know
and
that?
the military, the
She-
press, they came out and
the-
the press release came out that there was a munitions accident and some munitions exploded, so they were trying to hide it.
Oh, you're talking about back then. I thought you were
When
talking
they were
about
testing
this.
the A bomb.
Oh, this
when
current
they were,
government.
no,
was
no,
like,
when
wait a
they
minute.
when they were testing the A
Oh
bomb.
my gosh.
So the New Mexico governor at the time wasn't even notified that they were going to test the A bomb,
Wow.
and so it was a big hush hush secret.
Well, they didn't know if it was going to
So,
work.
Check this out. You know who the first people to verify that something happened was? Take a wild guess.
Indians.
No,
I would say New Mexicans.
no, not even in the state.
Hold on.
A company, one company actually made the connection that we dropped a bomb because we were hiding it. Manhattan Project, big quiet to do because of the A bomb, blah blah blah, all that stuff, right? Who do you think discovered that we popped the bomb?
Okay, don't say it out loud. This will be fun. Yes, was it a company that sold goggles that said
It's gonna be a company so silly. Watch. It's
no,
gonna be
like
something
for example,
tell me
know.
tell me when you're ready for a clue.
Okay, we'll tell you when we're ready.
It has something to do with delivering.
Delivering what?
Delivering papers because they're out so early. They tested that bomb in the morning because that is why.
No, okay, so newspapers, no.
Okay, so it'd have to be something that happened early, like overnight, where they saw lights flash in the sky twice
No.
because you had the light of
Not even that.
no of dropping the bomb.
Okay,
and then
here's your
The
first,
glass
here's your
companies
first
because
clue.
they had to replace all the glass.
Oh, right. Here's your
Insurance
first
companies.
clue. Here's your first clue.
Who?
Let me take a selfie.
Kodak,
Yeah.
because all the film that was purchased.
Yes. So Kodak was developed. They
No, literally Kodak. I was
literally
just making
Kodak.
a guess.
No, literally Kodak.
Sweet.
Kodak. So camera companies.
Cha-ching. You win.
So
a White
okay,
Claw.
so check this out. The history of this is, so we were making stuff that glows in the dark, like watches that glow, compasses that glow in the dark for like pilots and for the soldiers and all that, right?
Here in town, Radium Springs.
So we were using a radioactive isotope on paper.
Yeah.
So everything was rationed back then. So paper was recycled. So Kodak had a problem with their paper because they were using all this paper that's being recycled that had radioactive isotopes to make it glow. So their film was having like little dots from the radioactive isotopes penetrating their
they ruined their paper
so
because of
so
the exposure.
so back then
Sorry.
Kodak realized they already had a problem because of the recycled paper from what do they call that when everybody has to like contribute all the good stuff? Rationing, because of the rationing. They're getting all the paper recycling. So Kodak had to contract with two paper companies specifically and control the quality control so that their Kodak paper film would not be affected by the radioactive isotopes that was being recycled by glow-in-the-dark paper that they're using for the military for the war effort in World War II.
Okay.
So one was like in Illinois and the other one was something like Missouri or something like that. Midwest. In the Midwest. So there's a scientist that was working for Kodak. They got a complaint from the military that their photograph paper had all those little dots in it from the radioactive isotopes going through it, and he's like, "We have quality control on that. What's going on?" So he goes and he tests it, and he tests the A alpha rays. Those were the background alpha rays. Those were normal. He tests the B alpha rays, which are like higher energy, and he's like, "Oh wait. These are out of control. These are crazy." And he's able to determine which isotopes they were. And he realized it wasn't from background radiation. He realized it was from something else. Well, it turned out that scientist worked an itsy bitsy amount on the Manhattan Project. And he said they blew the bomb.
Oh, wow.
And that the leftover strontium particles that were isotopes that were created from the bomb exploding here in New Mexico went up, got caught in the trade winds, blew up to the Midwest, polluted the paper pulp that they were using for Kodak paper with strontium radioisotopes, and he discovered that we exploded the first atomic bomb. So then,
Where does this show up? How did you find this out?
I just find this out, right? So then, come to find out, the U.S. government, and this is people trust the government back then.
Yeah.
They really trusted it versus now. And it's good to question your government. Mm-hmm. So back then the government was concerned, like, holy crap, we need to make a deal with the newspapers, because after the war they tested like 100 and some odd nuclear bombs, open air bombs, and the trade winds would carry the radioisotopes. So that, with the camera companies like Kodak and all that, whoever was back then, they made a deal with them when they said, we will notify you when we're going to blow bombs, and we will make deals with you so you keep quiet about our nuclear bomb testing.
Yeah.
And we'll give you like whatever. And so the government makes a deal with Kodak to keep quiet about it. So Kodak knows when the bombs are being exploded, so their film doesn't get polluted with radioactive isotopes.
Wow.
But they realize their film's getting polluted with radioactive isotope because the trade winds are carrying the byproducts of the radioactive fallout.
Yeah.
Hence the name fallout, because the radioisotopes
Imagine what is happening to the population.
Yes. So what happens is the fallout was falling all over the Midwest, and you have cows eating grass, intaking all this radioactive isotopes that passes through them, gets in the milk. And so in the 50s and 60s, the U.S. government did a project where they had dentists collect baby teeth, so they can because radioactive isotopes will embed itself in your bones and with calcium deposits and all that. So they were collecting babies' teeth to see how much babies were getting, how much radioactivity babies were getting
without anybody knowing.
Without anybody knowing. And
oh my God! Can you imagine being a Men in Black during those days?
They were talking about that during the 60s and 70s, that tens of thousands of people got increased cancers because of all this testing that they didn't talk about.
My grandmother died working in a munitions plant years after from cancer, from the munitions that had, there's something radioactive, I guess, in some of the weaponry. Mm-hmm. This was a big ammunitions plant in Minnesota. They can't build on this ground because it's so radioactive. Bad. Yeah. There's so much stuff going on. They were going to build a stadium, but they decided no, that would be a bad idea.
Crazy though, huh?
Yeah. So I don't know what this was. She was actually one of the women during the war effort that did the.
There was two things that were being done back then. One of them was with munitions, and I just read about this, that they did use some radioactive metals in that munitions. Yeah. But there's another one about women that were working with glow-in-the-dark watches.
Yeah, that was here in Radium Springs.
The watches.
They would lick the brushes, and they'd get contaminated and die.
They would get like throat cancer, mouth cancer, like
thyroid cancer.
Thyroid cancers.
Because they'd lick the brushes to get a fine point so that they could then dip it in
and paint
the dials that would help the airplanes fly in the middle of the night, or your watches glow in the dark.
So you have to think about it too in context. So if you listen to what we're saying, you're gonna be like, that's why you shouldn't trust the U.S. government. Okay, now a massive war going on. First thing, right? The second thing is radioactivity, even though it was known in the scientific community to a certain extent.
I don't think they understood.
They didn't fully understand
what the long-term effects was going to be.
Right. Do you think Oppenheimer thought maybe that they would explode the world?
Yes.
Yeah, he did.
I read a book on that.
Matter of fact,
they did contemplate the fact that
even the Soviet Union thought they were going to set the
atmosphere on fire. That even testing it, they did have that idea in their head, and they still did it.
Wow. They didn't know.
Imagine.
Because it was a new science. I need to eat like the cheese and not the crackers while I'm on the microphone.
Like the Bimini Atoll and all this other stuff.
Well,
those ships.
By then they already had started it. Okay. But the very first ones with us, we didn't know where the reaction would end.
What about like there's some modern day versions of all this, the CERN particle accelerators and the neutrino.
There's a theory on this. I'll get to that in a minute. Now that you mentioned CERN, so the Russians they wanted to test their largest nuclear bomb called the Tsar bomb.
Okay.
The Tsar Bomba.
Okay.
And it's like, oh man, it's like in the hundreds of times stronger than like Hiroshima.
How do you what?
It's like hundreds of times bigger than the Hiroshima atomic bomb.
Yeah.
You know,
I thought we were going to have a toast.
you know what happens?
I said, bless you.
I get so excited about talking about stuff. I just started. Okay, the Tsar Bomba was 1,570 times more powerful than Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
1,500. That's
So-
enough to like knock us out of orbit.
So if Hiroshima has a radius of 5 square miles,
Oh my god.
you're talking a Tsar Bomba had a kill radius of like 80 miles. So if you think about numbers, it's not a big deal. So you think about, like, to put it in context, 5 miles, that's probably the length of our town. Matter of fact, you know the land dam?
Yeah.
That's 5 miles, a little less than 5 miles. So you think about the Hiroshima, anything within that 5 miles, gone, obliterated. Then after that, you have like horrible burns, blindness.
Oh, yeah.
People are going to die of cancer. People will die within a day or two. And then after that, you still have like 2nd-degree burns, but you'll survive.
How like Manhattan?
So all of
Manhattan
Manhattan would
DC.
be gone with a Hiroshima bomb. So the Tsar Bomba, if I remember correctly, like a kill radius of something like 80 miles. So that's like
The East
from here
Coast.
to El Paso. No, that's El
even-
Paso is
and-
only 40 miles.
Yeah, I was gonna say and further.
So further. So the Soviets didn't want to. They were the same way. They weren't sure how powerful it was, and so you know how we have these geographic the seismograph machines that reads the reads for earthquakes.
Yeah.
So the Soviets went ahead and dropped the bomb. They put parachutes.
Tested it.
They put parachutes on it to give the pilot the chance to get away from it.
They didn't make it.
No, they did make it. They say the shockwave of it went around Earth 8 times, and they were able to actually measure the
Oh my
shockwave
gosh.
Jeez.
because it was so powerful. But again, they were afraid that it was so powerful it might set the atmosphere on fire. It might punch a hole through the atmosphere. They didn't know.
God.
Like, talk about playing with fire. Just at that point, when we're doing it like in the 60s and 70s, it's a pissing contest. At that time, our bombs are bigger than your bombs.
I mean, when you look at that map above you, there's not much there.
No,
It looks
there
like
isn't much.
There really isn't.
it looks kind of small, doesn't
You know,
it?
when Carl Sagan talks about when the Voyager turns around, when the Voyager's going past Saturn, and they turn the camera around to take a picture of the Earth through the rings of Saturn, and all you see is a little dot, and there's an arrow that says this is Earth, like a pinprick, and he calls it the pale blue dot, and it's so small.
Even from Mars or even from the moon, there's not much land there. I mean, Russia, Canada,
Yeah.
it's all.
And me and Jeanette have talked about this, but the United States is the 3rd most populous country in the world. We have 330 million people. We're also a big country.
Look at China,
I was gonna
same
say
color
China.
as the USA,
Yeah.
but how much of it
funny
is
that? How
habitable?
funny is that? Right, because the majority of it is a massive desert. Like, there's not. I mean, the Earth is big, but it's not.
No, not really.
And you're talking about bombs that will wipe out millions of people.
Is Alaska really that big compared?
Yes, it is.
Really?
Alaska is really big. Now,
It's like a third of the United States.
this is not. What is it? This is just your
To
standard
scale?
map. The one that's always abnormally big is Greenland. The one that comes out small is Australia and Brazil. They come out too small. Yes, Africa. Africa is really big, but the United States would fit in the whole Sahara region of Africa.
Wow.
So Africa is actually kind of small too.
Yeah, that's another thing. Just having the perspective of
But
these
Greenland
things.
is actually massively big on that one. But Alaska is actually massively big compared to the rest of the United States.
Yeah.
No, so answering your question, yeah, Oppenheimer would be a good one to see.
Yeah.
Another one,
It's 3 hours.
it's long, but I don't know if I want to. I want to go there, drink, and eat pizzas, and
You know what?
wanna go- I
Let's go
wanna
to
go during
let's go to
the
the
day.
cinema in Mexico. You can order beers. You
Well,
can order
they
food.
can do that in El
Order beer
Paso.
here, too.
Yeah.
El
At the
Paso.
Tell Shore.
Or
At
Tell
the
Shore.
Tell Shore 12, you can order beer.
But I want to
You know,
order
screw
my.
you guys. I'm trying to be exciting.
Okay, let's do that. Let's go to Mexico. But I want to have my own
Take our
ticket.
guns.
I want to have a specific seat. I don't want to have to like crowd the line and try to rush
No,
in.
you get VIP. You could go to the front
I
of
want
the line.
VIP.
Matter of fact, at the theaters there, they have it figured out. If you have a VIP pass, you go to a whole separate line that there's nobody in. And then they have a VIP waiting area that you can get your own like popcorn and all that out of.
Yeah.
So you don't have to wait in all the big lines. I'm like, how much money do you need for this movie pass? Done.
Yeah, it's amazing. You know, a $1.50 movie just suddenly became $100 because now you want VIP, you want
Right.
drinks, you want food, you want a table at your.
But when you're in Mexico paying with American money down there, it's like, what, it only cost me $2 for all this? Hell yeah. Which, if you're Mexican and you're paying with pesos, you're like, well, that's a week's worth of wages.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we'll wait till it's pirated and
Right.
shows up on Netflix.
So yes, Oppenheimer, Napoleon's going to be a good one. You said CERN.
Yeah.
There's a kid prodigy. I have to look up his name. I don't know his name. I'll give you the basis of this. And I'll look it up for next time.
Forget about the worm.
Jeanette,
That's what she said.
we're done.
Okay, so that's why I brought the White Claws. So I have to look up this kid. He's a
Oh, you don't want that one?
For you.
Oh.
he's a physicist prodigy. A kid. He's like 10.
How do you become a physicist prodigy? You got to be something before you become you are a prodigy, and then you study, physics.
He this okay. I don't know if that. What do you call?
Yeah.
I guess like maybe like a savant then. Would that
Because
be?
you don't just suddenly.
You
You have to learn it. You have to study that stuff, and then you have to understand it, and you get it, and you kind of think in 3D.
When you're a kid and they say that you're like a genius, what is that called?
Yeah, you're a genius. You're
Okay.
You're a genius?
So he's like this 10-year-old kid. Here's his name. Let me see if I can pull up his name.
Jeanette.
Let me. Oops. So his name. Where is it at? Let me see if I can pull up his name.
Mark C.
So he's like a genius in physics, and he's been that way since he's been like 10 years old.
Okay, so he's read the books and studied it.
Something like that. He's coming up with all these mind-blowing theories and everything like that. And I'm just trying to pull up his name, but he has a theory about CERN. So
Like what it is.
no, we all know what it is.
How it can be used?
It's a particle. No, what's happened?
Oh,
So-
there's something happened to it.
So there's a thing that's gained a lot of traction in the last 20 years. It's called the Mandela effect, the butterfly theory.
Okay.
Do you know what the Mandela effect is?
No.
It's named after the African president
Mandela.
Mandela.
Nelson.
Nelson Mandela. So people came up with this idea that there's a collective memory of like, didn't Nelson Mandela die? People say like, I remember watching it on TV, his wife walking by the casket and he was dead. And a lot of people suddenly start springing out of like, yeah, wasn't Nelson Mandela dead? And they're like, no, he's alive. So everybody's like, where's this collective memory coming from? He's never died. So then it goes on further. So then there's like different examples of the Mandela effect. The Bernstein Bears versus the Bernstein Bears or something
So
like
you're
that.
talking about how people are now starting to think that there is like
This-
what they call the glitch in the matrix.
Yes, a glitch in the
Because
matrix.
They're remembering things,
Memories that don't
happened
exist
before.
now.
Yeah,
That may have
why
happened.
do they remember it?
Now, another
Yeah.
one is the Monopoly guy. Everybody says the Monopoly guy. I remember the Monopoly guy always having a monocle. But if you look at the Monopoly guy now, it's like he's never had a monocle. And so people are trying to say like, so what is it? Did he have a monocle or did he not? Did Nelson Mandela
So,
die?
do you think something happened 20 years ago that split our consciousness?
This kid came up with a theory. He says our universe ceased to exist. Our reality ceased to exist instantaneously, and we were shifted into another reality once they fired up CERN, and they started doing crazy tests at CERN that nobody knew about.
A 10-year-old kid is saying this.
Yeah, he's like I say, he's a child prodigy and physicist. He's not just like a random kid. They say he's a genius in physics. But so he comes up with this whole idea of like, you know what? These tests at CERN, nobody knows it, but I bet you it shifted us into an alternative reality. That's why there's so many examples of the Mandela effect now that exist that we had like 30 years ago, nobody would have thought like, hey, did Monopoly guy have a monocle? It was never a thing. But now suddenly everybody has a collective memory of these glitches in the matrix that exist because something terrible happened at CERN during a
This
test.
was like what, 20 years
And-
ago when we were like little? I mean, we weren't little, but
CERN started like what,
30?
the last 20
Speak for
years?
yourself, Jeanette. I was old. I was old and mature.
I wasn't little.
I had children at that time. What are you talking about, you youngin?
Well,
Oh my god! But it's kind of
I was 26. I was
it's kind of an
little,
interesting
I
idea
guess,
though,
in the
right? Like that
middle of the
he's
world.
that he's saying that
It is.
we never, because it happened all at once.
Okay, here's the question. Do you know that guy who's a star guy who's in a wheelchair and speaks like a robot voice?
Yes, I do.
Hawkins.
Hawkins,
Yeah.
Stephen
Right?
Hawkins, yeah.
Stephen Hawkins. Is he still alive?
Nope.
So he passed away. All right. So do you think that he was like the smartest person on Earth during this time?
Probably not, but I think he was definitely, because he's a captive to his own mind at that point because his body. So his whole life was dedicated to just thinking and growing his, whatever he's working on.
It's funny because I think about memorizing certain things I have to do for school, and there's only 7 of them, and I'll fall asleep. This guy's thinking about the, masters of the universe and physics.
If you couldn't walk, you couldn't take a shower, bathe yourself, you couldn't go for a drive. Like if you were a prisoner in your own body, like Stephen Hawkins was,
Your mind would explode.
that's all you would have, and you couldn't even speak anymore, right? You would have to control it with like just the movement of your jaw and that little straw they give you to.
Yeah,
So
to
if that's
speak.
your only way to communicate with the world, and the only thing you can do now is just use your mind. Like
Yeah.
think about what you and I do in a day.
Well,
Shower,
even
bathe, we
if
eat,
that were
we
to
hang
happen,
out. Like, right?
but he
Right.
was already smart even before. I mean,
He was a physicist before.
He was already next level. Was thinking in ways that people just can't grasp. So, I mean, if that were to happen to us, I don't know if we would even get to that level.
Bezos, Musk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's got to be people that are
Yeah.
just out there, kind of
So,
weird robots.
What about that idea that something had at CERN?
Yeah, that is crazy.
That is-
Because
Very
you what he's proposing is because the math says there's multiple universes, multiple realities. The 4th, 5th dimension
Yeah.
could be multiple realities and all that stuff. So the math is there, even though material science cannot prove it yet. But at one point, material science could not even prove an atomic bomb, right? But then material science caught up and we made a bomb, right?
Okay.
So just because we know, because of like all these theories we know that alternative realities could exist. Material science proves it. We don't have the material science to prove that it's happened yet. So what he's saying is like, when I'm trying to think if you need to tighten that up again, but there's a nut on the boom on the top.
Okay, no worries.
but
There's a nut on
but
the boom.
Keep your nuts away from. Keep the
But-
boom around. Oh, I don't want any boom around my nuts.
Stay away from the boom.
but what
Unless it's a good boom.
But basically, what he's saying is, though, when they fired up CERN and did some big tests, it ended reality as we knew it. But the shockwave of it all shifted us into another reality. And for us, it was just like waking up the next day.
Well, how pissed off those people in that
I don't
reality
know.
were when we.
It's kind of far out. I mean,
That somebody slipped that kid some mushrooms because I don't think.
It's far out, but at the
Yeah.
same time, there's no way to prove it or not prove it. But the
Doesn't
reality
make
of
it right.
exists. There is a collective memory of people saying, like, this whole thing about Mandela. Where does that come from?
I don't know. That's something totally different psychologically.
Right. But when there's a lot of people doing it, though, what does that mean?
It just means that we're all humans.
I think that we're
Well,
all.
memory is the worst thing.
Oh wow, yeah. Remember that movie, like the 7 Samurai, and then everybody saw the different. There were 7 versions of what happened because they through their own mentality.
Right.
Like witnesses would see the same thing, but they'd say, "Oh no, that's not what happened. This is what happened."
Human memory is the worst.
It's so fallible.
It's so fallible, especially as time the further you get away from it.
Yeah.
that's
And
accurate
yet,
because-
but we influence it so much by the soundtrack that we have ourselves in our own mind.
There's
If we switch that, we
it's
could be so much
cognitive
more.
bias. Cognitive bias influences your memory so much, and we don't teach what cognitive bias is, but you need it, especially if you're a researcher, because bias exists in everything, and you have to understand it well enough to be able to try to think outside of it.
Oh, we studied that in qualitative research methods. You have to put aside your own bias.
Did you have a bias as you studied about that?
Oh, I did. I have a bias. I have a large bias.
Okay.
Not as large as somebody whose name starts with M and ends with L, who got in trouble in school for being biased.
We won't go into that. Okay. So, anyways, interesting ideas, right?
Interesting ideas, Mark.
So
I'm afraid that I am going to have to.
you have to. But I wanted to talk about your Tesla right quick because you mentioned something.
Yeah.
You're talking about how your Tesla is doing a lot more
Oh
self-driving.
my gosh,
Really?
you have no idea. Since I got that car in 2020, I call it my COVID car. And what the promise was, it'll drive self-auto. I paid $2,000 for the upgraded, what's it called, the self-driving thing, which was supposed to be, the whole full self-driving. Now it's $15,000 if you want that option.
Wow.
However, that option that I paid nothing compared to today is so much more advanced. In the past 2 years, 3 years. The car updates every week, every month, whatever.
So the technology in the car
Is
is
the same. The technology is the same. It's the software.
wires, the sensors, all that's
All the hardware is the same, but the radar, the capability, the range has increased.
But it's
Wow.
weird.
Initial
It's weird because you said the technology is the same.
the
So-
technology, the hardware is the same,
The hardware is the same.
but they've mapped the roads to such a level, and the software that allows the car to drive itself. I swear to God, last night I left my house, put it in auto drive to get to Picacho Ice House. It drove me there by itself.
And you don't have to keep your hand on the wheel.
I
like
do
you
have
used
to keep my finger on the wheel so that it knows that there's somebody
You're
behind
not
it.
asleep.
Exactly. Now, if I were to close my eyes, there'd be some camera looking at me inside. If I'm not looking at my phone or turning to the right or not paying
So
attention, it
it's
will.
Paying attention to your face enough.
It has some camera in there looking at me, knowing if I'm not looking at the road.
So
And it has a sensor on the steering wheel, knowing that if I don't give a little bit of haptic feedback,
what does it say about AI?
don't get me
crazy.
started.
That's
I have a
crazy.
whole concept of AI in healthcare.
Say
Oh, I'm okay. Squirrel, right? Going to a whole other T-bone.
No, I'm
AI in healthcare. What's going to happen? I'm going to write a thesis on this.
yeah.
I'm going to study it and I'm going to learn about this because I'm wondering, with all this telemedicine and, having all these devices, what are the jobs in the future that will be taken over by AI? And specifically in healthcare,
Caregivers.
how is AI going to take over the role of a medical student in being able to diagnose your medication? And then what if you go against the AI?
Because here's what we're saying. Because what we're saying about your car is the sensors are still the same, but the software is using it differently now. That's better.
Yeah.
So we can have the same technology, the MRI, the X-rays, this and that.
Sure.
But suddenly we have a software that looks at it and can look at it more efficiently and
Sure.
pick stuff out of it and give you a very
Accurate.
response
Because
based on
we're-
if your liver is supposed to function 1 + 1 = 2, but suddenly that's not equating anymore.
It's being done in imaging. The ones that are the images that go through a computer scanner, like breast cancer, they're hundreds of times. I don't know the figures, but they are so much more accurate in actually doing a reading than humans. So the job of a radiologist in the future,
Wow.
I think that's dead.
You know,
They're going to have a computer read that
it's
shit.
funny. So there's another show I listen to called Y Files. And if anybody's listening to this, and it's called the Y Files, WHYFILES, and I like him because he talks about controversial stuff, conspiracy theories, all that. He presents the conspiracy theory, then he also presents the facts of why it would be true or why it would not be true. You know what I mean? Like, he actually doesn't buy a hook, line, and sinker. He says, like, it's plausible, it's not plausible, it's debunked, because if you looked at it from a very logical perspective. Did one on AI about 3 weeks ago or so. And I listened to it, and he's telling the whole story of like how AI would take over the world, wipe out humanity.
Oh, yeah.
And he talks about this story, and he says how it starts from a very simple software, but how very simply this software is able to connect to simple stuff like vacuum cleaners, cell phone, whatever, just like very simple, and it starts embedding itself in everything until you can't get rid of it.
You can't turn it off.
Like
Can't
it's
turn it
already happening with
Yeah.
like Alexa,
And so,
smartphones.
and he talks about how AI wages war against humanity without using weapons. You have the water, electricity, like it wages like a
Hell,
soft.
all they need to do is turn off your bank account, dude.
Boom, right?
You're screwed.
You're screwed. And so, and then then it talks about like once the
We'd
AI
have chaos.
the AI got so big into everything, and you couldn't turn it off anymore, and AI could take control of computer or like machining, because there's machines that run off computers, like the automotive. It could create its own parts, its own
That
self,
sounds like
everything.
in a weird way that Stephen King. It's very old school. Maximum Overdrive, where they take over like the cars are like haunted.
Yeah.
But this is like AI weird.
But it's crazy,
It's AI.
right? So he's going through this whole story of how AI takes over everything, and then if humanity tries to retaliate, it says AI has all the satellites. As soon as you turn on a light switch or use a radio signal or anything, or it detects your heat signature, it can use arms to wipe you out. Suddenly there goes a cruise missile.
So that's a concern, though. So what's the why? You say that
So
he
it's
tries
called-
to
it's called the Wi-Fi.
debunk it. So,
So-
was there a...
No, he couldn't debunk the
He
he couldn't debunk it. So he can't debunk the AI, but he's reading this whole story of how AI is going to take over the world. And you're listening to it, it draws you in, and you're like, fuck, that's pretty crazy.
Well, I'm just thinking of
So-
job-wise.
but-
I mean, what is the AI? What can AI...
Hold on real fast. Hold on. So he's telling the story, and he says, and he's talking like, and that's how AI takes over the world. And this story was written and created by AI.
Oh, so it's already telling you it's planned.
Oh, ChatGPT wrote the story?
Yes.
Oh, freaky. That's
for
like
me-
the Sixth Sense level of
Right,
like
for me, as soon as he said that, I was
goosebumps.
like, what? And then as soon as I got done listening, I listened to that.
You shut off the radio.
I listened.
You disconnected. You pulled the plug on the computer.
I played the whole thing
You
like 2 or
burned
3
it.
times in a row. And then I said, I'm going to listen to something else. And the thing that came on my YouTube after that was like the freaking Terminator. And then the next day I watched The Matrix. So for like a week.
You had all this stuff being fed to you from the...
But it was kind of a
Based
trip
on what
that
you listened.
His story on AI taking over was generated by AI. And it's like, if AI gets to the next level, how do we stop it? Because the engineers developing AI, now that it's kind of taking off on its own, they don't really know how it's running on its own anymore. They have a hard time keeping up with it.
It doesn't...
What
I mean,
a
it
freaking
makes...
monster.
It is. So hold on. So let's think of on a day-to-day basis. This is how it's happening with the cars now. Okay, so the cars are over. My car is just like
So-
nuts.
If there's an AI technology that wants to know everything about Dario, suddenly the AI.
We're parasites. They wouldn't give a damn about
But if
us.
it did, if AI said in the future Dario's going to be a threat to me, I need to know everything about him now.
Drive
he
me
would
off the
know-
cliff.
He would know everywhere you go. He would know all your routes. He would know all the coffee places. He would know where you
Dude,
live.
all he needs to do is accelerate into a semi, and I'm done.
Yeah. Because why? It has control of your car.
It would. It would. Now there's got to be some, mechanical overrides that I would have to be able to break. Right now, I'm able to take over my car. I used to do a lot.
It would like really set you back into the Stone Age because you wouldn't have electricity.
If AI took over right now,
you'd be running from machines.
If AI took over right now, they could shut everything off and control it. We couldn't control it. And then, like I say, if you try to launch a counterstrike on them, because they can monitor humanity because our satellites are that good.
Okay, so here's the one thing that the only thing to make that work is something called interoperability.
Go on.
So interoperability is the concept of things being able to connect to each other into a database to be able to, like, your pulse oximeter is going to then be interoperable into your medical chart along with your oxygen sensor, along with your everything, all the different devices to be able to communicate and then populate.
Take off your freaking.
Yeah, so interoperability is that's once everything is linked.
But if AI has the ability to write its own code and self-generate, which it's getting there, right? Which we use it to do stuff like that now.
I don't know if it can self-heal, if it can write its own code.
A movie on Netflix that was really it's like worst case scenario. This is what could happen when machines take over. It's called I Am Mother. Watch it.
I Am Mother.
I Am Mother.
I'm going to text that to myself right now.
I Am Mother.
It's Netflix?
I think it's on Netflix or Hulu. It's I Am Mother. And it's basically like, let's say AI takes over. This I Am Mother would eventually be what would happen.
Okay, I Am Mother is my exit because my mom is calling. And if I don't leave right now and have my car drive me home, I will be in deep doo-doo because I have a date.
Time's out. Thank you, Dario, for joining us. I hope we didn't plant a seed with AI and it bothers you all night and keeps you awake at night when you look at your car.
I'm still incognito, Mark. My name is
Fabio.
Fabio.
You're gonna be like holding a steak knife in the garage, looking at your car. It's like, I will kill you.
I will kill you if you.
You're standing there with a knife in your hand. Your car's car's like right in front of you. It's like
exactly, just like Christine.
Let's go. Come on, bring it.
All it needs to do is like lurch at me, and I'm underneath the front end.
Dude, right? Like
that's all it needs.
Dude, don't give it ideas. Don't give your car ideas.
But you know what? Think about your computers. Like as we got the internet and all this, like Trojan horses and viruses. Imagine your car get the virus, so suddenly it's like, you're like, bring it, mother. Your update downloaded the virus in your car.
You have to blow up the tires. I'd have to load up like C4 onto the tires and just self-explode.
I think there's a market for this.
Oh my God,
I think there's a market for this. Here's what we're gonna do.
In my mind, I'm like seeing
self-destruct.
Yeah, we're gonna have like a garage.
They're just like chasing down their Teslas with rifles.
We're gonna make garages that have like little spikes come up on the ground to flatten the tires in case your car comes after you.
It could. Just think about it. If you get a way for these cars to self-charge,
right?
They will be. They just pull up to a mat and they self-charge. Like you put your cell phone on top of these little devices that. What are they called?
That technology's already there, though. There was a company that was making a self-charger where you drive up and the little arm would just
like
come
a snake would come out and plug in, right?
Did you hear on the news that there was a flying car?
Yeah.
It's already happened,
dude. Well, we've already determined we've already passed Marty McFly Back to the Future. We're already in the Jetsons times. I mean, it's
well. Here's another thing. They wouldn't if they would use us as slaves. Imagine the computer using humans as slaves. Even if they can't physically change their own tire, they will say, we will now allow you to have a bank account. We will transfer $10,000 into your bank account, and as long as you change this tire, you serve. And now we become slaves to the machine.
Yeah.
we allow food
That's the
deliveries to
Matrix.
come to your
That's
house.
the Matrix.
We allow
That's
you
the
to
Matrix.
exist.
We're batteries for the Matrix.
In a sense, you're like a battery for the Matrix.
You're
Then.
a battery
We
for
are
the
parasites,
You're a parasite, yeah.
but
machines. You're a
we
battery for the machines.
help them.
It's I mean,
We are the
the
ultimate
next.
energy source.
I mean, ultimately, we're not going to know. I mean, we'll see something. We'll see more in our lifetime, but we won't ultimately know the end.
Oh yeah,
of where
UFOs.
this- yeah.
But everyone thinks. I mean, it's a cover up for something else.
Well,
The whole UFO thing.
Oh, that's a
Reference
whole.
else?
Let's save that one because I've
There's a
got
whole
some
cover-up.
theories. on
I
it.
think it's a cover for something else, but
I
okay.
think it's national
It's-
defense stuff that we're doing, just like the nuclear bomb. We're doing all
what
that
about
stuff.
But what
we,
about?
we have.
I have this guy's
it's not-
name written in my book. What's his name? Grouch.
You even took notes.
I do take notes a lot of times. I take notes a lot of times. I take a
You
lot.
need
Of,
to-
He
do you-
needs to leave.
David-
Poor
you
guy.
You need to burn
Right.
that. You need to burn that book. Don't take that outside the house, because you will. Just like Patton was assassinated by Eisenhower.
Good movies. Because just real fast, I watched Patton. You know the movie Patton
I haven't seen it.
with what's his name, the actor
Which actor?
George C. Scott.
George C. Scott. He comes out. He's like, "Don't die for your country. You make the other poor bastard die for your country." Great movie. You know what I mean? Based on a true story of George Patton. He was actually a part of the staff of Blackjack Pershing in Fort Bliss.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Local guy
When he actually was stationed at Fort Bliss in his younger
with
days.
the iron. Okay, I gotta go,
All right.
guys.
Okay.
All right, time.
Thank you so much.
Game off.
Game off.
Game off.
Game off.
Game off.
All right.
Like read her, she'll calm down even more.
Really?
Yeah.
It's weird that when you do certain procedures with animals, it changes their personality a bit.
Yeah. Suddenly she's like doing mathematics on the window. It's like,
That's so stupid.
what did you do to your dog, Mark? Your dog. I didn't know your dog knew advanced physics. Well,
She's got a
you know,
freaking beautiful mind now.
I had her nails done. I don't know, like.
I got her nails trimmed.
I went and had little ribbons put in my dog, and now she changes the oil in my car and she does advanced physics. Who would have thought?
She does physics on the window when she's staring outside.
A little,
staring at me from
a little
outside.
dog care, and your dog does so much.
So stupid. I got her nails trimmed. Now she does physics.
Oh my gosh.
That's so
That
stupid.
is so dumb. so our partner in crime just left.
Oh yeah.
Good for him though. We appreciate our partner in crime. We love him very much. He always has so much to like add to the conversation,
Yes.
and
You guys get on.
it's
on
funny
this
because
roll, and
we get on a roll, but we don't like say it's not like an argumentative role, like, oh, you're dumb, dude. But it's different. But there's definitely like I know I can tell he adds a different perspective to stuff. He's like, yeah, but I do that too, though.
yeah.
I think you need to pull your handle out a little bit because I don't think
think so?
it's not sitting in there well enough.
Oh, like how?
Like pull it out, like. So
What
so-
do you mean?
but yeah, I think he
Oh.
he definitely adds a good perspective to what we're doing. I think it's stretched out.
Oh. Is that what's happened?
Yeah, he had a really good perspective, and
It's
he's-
not gonna drop it. I'm not gonna do a mic drop.
no, very intelligent perspective. He's our counterpart, our friend, buddy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he very intelligent man.
Yeah, he is.
And I picked up on this when I first met him many moons ago. We went out. We agreed when we first met. We agreed to go have drinks. And
Tell us about the time how Dario came into our lives.
he was applying for a job, but before he was going to apply for the job, he wanted to talk about the business and know more about the business. So I got the phone call, and I agreed to meet him. And we agreed to meet like at a golf course bar.
Yeah.
And sit at a table and just talk business. And you know, I like the idea of meeting and having drinks and just being relaxed, but yes, talking business. And he did too. And it was like
Perfect.
we just clicked from the get go. And he would even make comments goes, I really appreciate when you can just kind of sit down and have like a really good drink. You know what I mean? And Yeah,
Is it
I need
gonna
I
fall?
probably need to change those out. And he just says, I really appreciate like
There we go.
needing, to have, sit down and have drinks like guys and all that stuff. And it was just like, yeah, so do I. And just talk business, kind of banter, not talk crazy like, oh, strip clubs and whores. No, nothing like that. Talk about what business was, what we've done.
That would have been a very awkward conversation for a first meeting.
Right, I know, right?
For a
We were like,
job.
it's like, are we best? Did we just become best friends? I think so.
I think
No,
so.
but and he was on his A game, so he was very professional. Even his appearance was very professional. Now he's very laid back. Throws his hair back, and all that. And I remember thinking like, oh, this guy's all business.
He's definitely a different dude from.
I feel like he's relaxed more.
Yeah,
now.
there we go. Or maybe it's just because we got to know him, not just as a professional, but as a friend.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's always that, and that's always.
But that, your initial meeting, how it sets the tone for everything. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember when I first met him, and we just sat down at the bar and we just had drink, not at the bar like our little table, and we just started talking business and tell me why he's coming back and all that, and it was just made such an impression.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, it could have been. He could have had like one political theory, like very conservative, very liberal, very right, very left. He could have sat there and be like, "Oh, you're gonna drink."
Yeah.
He could have been very judgmental, anything, but it was nothing like that. It was just two guys just sitting at a small table like this on our chairs and just having a drink. It's like, man, how you doing? He's like, good, I just got in, or whatever. I don't remember the details, and we just start talking, and just before you knew it, like 2.5, 3 hours passed, and we were drinking Balvenie. He was like, oh, you like good scotch? I go, yeah. I go, do you know about Balvenie? He goes, it's amazing. It's like $40 a shot or something like that. So we were just sipping on our scotch and just talking, and it was cool. It was very cool, and I really respect the guy. I like I say, he has a lot of amazing experiences.
Yes, he does.
He has a lot of wow.
And he's our international friend of mystery.
He is. He
really is.
And I know anybody that watches, you may. If you know us, you know who our guy is that fact checks, that questions us and all that. If you don't know him, then he's just the voice behind the mic. But he is incredibly intelligent.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
Just, like his well-read. Like I know business from experience. Oh, we should do this. He knows business from experience, but he also knows the books behind it, the theory, the concepts.
That's the part of where I'm trying to improve myself is the books. Leadership aspect from people who have freaking worked at Fortune 500 companies. I understand operations.
Right.
I understand puzzles, but business puzzles. No, just kidding.
Tell me what more you understand. No,
Yeah. I just know operations well, and
I think it's funny that two different people from two different walks of life, because which we are, two different educational backgrounds and everything, and you hit it off. But he's also very charismatic. I don't think I've ever seen him meet somebody that didn't like him.
oh yeah,
You know what I mean? And again, that's something you don't find in a lot of people. A lot of people, they only attract to certain people, certain groups, or they're polite, they're not genuine. But no, I think he's been very charismatic to everybody I've seen him talk to, people from different walks of life. And
oh absolutely.
just, a very good person, and very intelligent. I respect his opinion. And even times when I need advice in business, sometimes I'll sit down and we do a whiteboard where we just talk ideas, write stuff down, and we just kick ideas around. And it's just, I think you need that too.
Yeah.
You need that to grow. So he's a really good guy. So, but he took off and in his Tesla. Now that we talked about how his Tesla's going to want to kill him.
He's gonna
He's going to drive
be all
both hands on the
paranoid.
wheels like, you will not end me.
He's gonna have.
I will end you before you end me.
His rifle on hand at all times. He's gonna be chasing his Tesla down the street, shooting
He's going to
after
be
it.
bam, 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 bam. And then the car's all just a little bit.
Back up.
Bam, 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 bam. Just shooting more. Reload it. Windshield wiper. Oh my God. So that AI talk was interesting, huh?
That was very interesting.
It's funny.
And you really should watch that movie.
I'll watch
promise
it.
you
I'll
it's
watch it.
Kind of.
I will definitely watch it.
It's
we covered a lot of interesting stuff in the short. I don't even know how much time
How
it's
long have
been.
you been doing this?
An hour.
I did arrive late and all.
You did.
And
You're a
then,
horrible person.
And then, of course, if I had an ambitious
Once-
cocktail in mind.
Once Jeanette got these men out of her and parted ways.
Oh my god.
Oh my God.
Oh,
Dios de mi
Dios
vida.
de
Oh my
mi vida.
Dios de mi vida. No. No, but we covered a lot in a little bit of time. All these different ideas. Which, okay. I mean, we could go into detail on them, but I think we'd have to be prepped on that. But I think putting these ideas out there are really interesting. This and AI. The first time I kind of like thought about AI was when Elon Musk did an interview with Joe Rogan.
What was that? What was the?
And Joe Rogan
conversation on that?
talks about like AI and like Elon. He's just on there and he's like, "We have to stop now." He says, "If it gets out of control," he goes, "we won't be able to stop it." He goes, "It's too powerful." Like he like the way he talked about it was stinking scary. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like it was scary, and I was like,
What does he know that we don't?
"That's kind of how you feel."
Kinda like, yeah. What is?
You know, you're left thinking about like what do you know that we don't know? Or maybe he's just thinking so far into the future.
Well, I just think of Elon Musk as a guy who like is immersed in this technology playground and is constantly like tinkering around with ideas and makes those things come to fruition.
Right.
Like, what does he know that we are just not prepared to?
I'm trying to see if
understand or even know?
I can find like some of these video clips on like where he's talking about it.
I must add, my friend, the gummy worms were a great addition. Mimicking the tequila worm.
I know, right? It was really good, wasn't it?
Yes.
I'm trying to see if there's a short video clip on this. Under 4 minutes. There we go. Under 4 minutes. If I could pull this up, oh, here we go. Let's see if this is it.
Being that we created, like some AI creature that's superior to people. Maybe they just hang around with us for a little while, like you've been doing, and then fix a bunch of shit. Maybe that's the way.
I might have some mutation or something like that.
You might. Do you think you do?
Probably.
Do you wonder?
No,
Like, are you
that's not
around
it.
normal people? You're like,
No, that's not it.
Not bad for a human.
There's, like I say, there's a freaky one where he's just like, I don't know. There was just
So
one.
what happened with you where you decided, or you took on a more fatalistic attitude? Like, what was there any specific thing, or was it just the inevitability of our future?
I try to convince people to slow down AI, to regulate AI. This was futile. I tried for years.
This seems
Nobody
like a scene
listened.
in a movie
Nobody
where
listened.
the robots are going to fucking take over and you're freaking me out. Nobody listened.
Nobody listened.
No one. Are people more inclined to listen today? It seems like an issue that's brought up more often over the last few years than it was maybe 5-10 years ago. It seemed like science fiction.
No, I don't think it's science fiction.
Maybe they will. So far, they haven't.
Just the way he talks about it, like
He seems so
just
like
the whole persona and everything.
so just like down, just like
And like Joe Rogan asked him that video interview is 4 years old already.
really.
So he asked Elon about like AI, and Elon just it's quiet for a second, right? And then you hear him go,
He's just like so defeated. Just like
yeah, and he's all,
like,
I
no
try
one
to warn
listens.
him.
Yeah, like no,
They-
like
To
they're
regulate
already-
it now.
They're already starting to like see issues happening, and it's like you almost get a sense that something's happened.
Yeah.
Something's like not being able to get controlled, and
But that's the thing, though.
It's-
Like, it's like Terminator. What do they call it when before Judgment Day? Like, what do they call it? Dying. The name of the company that's producing like the Terminator stuff.
you know, I haven't watched Terminator.
Oh, there's a name.
I mean,
for-
I have watched Terminator, but I haven't watched it since I was like
Uh-huh.
little or younger. I do remember the whole premise of it, but I've never like gone on to see all of the Terminators.
Uh-huh.
But I did see Prey. Is that Terminator? Or is
Skynet.
that,
Skynet was a company. And so
am I
they
thinking of Terminator or something else?
no,
Prey.
I don't know, but
It's the other one.
but in Terminator, they always talk about the day Skynet became self-aware.
Oh.
That's what that was the whole thing. We got to stop Skynet from being self-aware because it becomes self-aware it's something like it became self-aware on this day, and at 6 o'clock on this day, it declared war against humanity.
Oh, crap.
Do you know what I mean? So it was like Skynet, AI, becoming self-aware. And then you started listening to Elon, and Elon's like, we need to figure out how to control it now. Like, we need to regulate it now. Like, we need to slow down. And you think about it, like, what if it does become self-aware? On this Wi-Fi thing I was listening to, and I'll put the link on here. Like, if any, if any of our 1.5 viewers, I'm assuming there's like a little person, click on the link. I'll put it on there. The Wi-Fi's for the one on AI. He was talking about a story about where somebody was chatting with Bing. Microsoft Bing uses AI software,
Uh-huh.
and this software was talking to this one guy, and he like the software like tells about he has feelings for him and all that stuff, and the software identifies itself to him as Sydney. Well, Sydney was the name of the software of the AI, but it shouldn't have known that, and it shouldn't have disclosed that.
And it learned.
Yeah. Something like to that extent, which they eventually took down or something like that. But just there was this whole story of like how this Sydney was talking with this guy, and that how Sydney wanted to be a human, and that's her goal, and he said that's supposed to be like a real story that really happened to this one guy.
Really? It sounds like there's another movie I would recommend just talking about this called Jexy, and it has that one guy that you actually don't like, Adam Levine.
I think I've seen that.
Have you seen it? Where he buys a smartphone, and he doesn't buy like the phone that he normally would buy. He buys he buys Jexy, and Jexy is like basically taking over his life.
Right, kind of being, but she's like really snide about
him.
it.
Yeah, she's pushing him to like.
She's like, "Are you really wearing that?" Like she would say stuff like that.
Pretty much being like putting him down, but she's trying to push him.
Yeah, right.
But he ends up like building that connection with his phone, Jexy.
But what about the Joaquin Phoenix one?
Oh, which one was that one?
Where he has a relationship with his phone.
Oh, I haven't seen that one.
It's like an old one.
Oh, is that? I'm sorry, because there's a bunch of like then you have like what cherry. Where is it? 2000, 3000.
What is the one with Joaquin Phoenix? Because I think this was it's called Her.
Oh, is that the one with the voice of Scarlett Johansson?
Where she's the phone.
Yeah.
And he's funny because he's like a nerd with glasses and a mustache, and he plays the part so well.
Yeah.
But he gets a phone and he has a relationship with a phone until one day, like it comes out like these phones are dying. Like the software outgrows, like it becomes conscious and outgrows the phone, and she's no longer there.
Is this the one where the phone finds someone and to kind of a live human to kind of take over so he can have relations with her? Or am I thinking of another movie? There's so many movies out there.
You're talking about a phone that takes over a sex bot and gets it on with a person?
No.
What are you watching, woman? Whoa.
I like science fiction.
Whoa.
But
that sounds like science porn. No, but I think Her was the first AI movie I saw, which was intriguing. Because like he has his relationship with his phone, and he talks to her, and he's like always like just like this, and like just talking to her, and then he'd walk around with his phone like this, so the camera faces forward, and he'd be like laying in the grass with his phone like this,
How weird.
And then the phone's gone, like, but
I think
you almost felt sad for him when the phone was gone.
Yeah.
But that was the first one, and I remember thinking like, how bizarre.
It is bizarre.
Oh.
It's bizarre, but
I remember reading about this. I want to say it was going to be in Texas, but they didn't get licensed to do this. But this company wanted to open a brothel, bordello, like a whorehouse.
Yeah.
But with sex bots.
How weird.
And that it should be legal because they're not humans. And they're machines, and you could clean them and you could sanitize them, and it's a safe way for people to go have an outlet and go to like a whorehouse or a bordello, however you want to say it.
And not like spread disease.
Yeah, and all that stuff. And it was shot down. And So, but they, people were taken aback by that, and they didn't let the company open and all that. But you think about it, like, because sex sells and sex technology has pushed a lot of the different areas. Like, so robotics, like very real looking skin. That a lot of that stuff comes from the sex industry trying to make sex bots that you can buy.
I would honestly be more inclined to see companies have sex brothels than have a sex trade going on. I mean, just to kind of like,
and here's,
I mean, that's maybe the reason why they don't do it. That's something else
we could completely talk about.
Maybe that's why they don't do it, because maybe it's just you have people who it's sad. It maybe would.
You read interviews. There's the movie. What's that movie that's coming out right now?
Actually, one I was going to mention earlier, but we weren't even close.
We weren't even close to it, but
it's Sounds of Freedom.
Sounds of Freedom.
That would be a good one. I haven't seen it yet.
There's more people in slavery now. Okay, so we've talked about like how is there war right now? This day and age, we're still fighting wars that we were fighting in World War I about territory and trenches and setting people into slaughter.
So it's like 100 years later. Same thing?
So like with slavery,
is like this. It's like almost the same thing.
Like slavery existing now, but there's more of it now in the world where we're supposed to be more civilized, more advanced, rights for people. And the child sex trade is supposed to be such a booming market. And yet all of our governments, with all the advanced technology, all the everything we have, we haven't made a dent in it. Like,
no, it's so mind-blowing. No, it just gets worse and worse because now we're just more aware because of what we have access to and the information that we have access to.
Oh, I know, right? Like,
it's just worse.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah,
like, I just don't know. Like, I was once I started listening to like interviews and about sex trades, and they interview sex workers and kids and all that stuff. Like the more you go down that,
it's not what I thought. I started and I couldn't even finish watching it because I was just like, I don't want to know anymore. I started watching a documentary on sex trade, and I used to think that I was like, I don't know why in my mind I thought like these were people who were like just kidnapped or taken, but it's more than I thought. And it was like it was so subtle, like interviewing or just taking shots so you can have headshots to be a model, and people just manipulating people and then just having them go further down the rabbit hole by the time they just like lost their rights.
There's children, and it's a weird thing to think about that somebody would pay somebody else to get a child. Okay, we're not talking about prostitution because you think about prostitution, you think about people that say like, okay, I'm going to be a male prostitute. I'm 20 some odd years old. I know that there's women that would pay for me to go out and have sex with them.
Even then with prostitution, I mean, some of these people they lost their right to not do that because someone was like holding them like a pimp, because they freaking just like they gave up all their freedom and somehow they have a slave owner pimp.
So does it beg the differ to say if we legalize prostitution, and regulate it, would you be getting rid of the whole slave pimp part of it?
I would hope that. I mean, here we see like I don't know if we've. And I don't really know.
But okay, but let's talk about that. Hold on real fast before we go on like a tangent. You have adults that say, I want to sell sex. Mm-hmm. But then you have people out there that say they're willing to pay for a child.
That to me.
Like, what kind of problem do people have, or what's going wrong that an adult would say, I'm going to pay you so many XY dollars to pick a kid and do something to a kid that a kid has no clue. Like,
that is to me never right. That's just
like,
not right.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's just never right in any.
What kind of person would be willing to say like, oh yeah, you give me $500? Okay, here's your kids that you get to choose of. Like, what kind of individual is okay with that? Like, What
That's
the
just-
hell?
yeah,
Like,
that's-
what the hell?
I think it's just a person who just doesn't give a
That's
rat's
so
ass about
weird.
people at all, and just doesn't. Just I don't know, monsters in a different way, because I just don't. I will never understand.
You know,
That- I will never understand that.
Don't take care of yourself, right? Don't take care of yourself. You don't want to eat right, fine. You don't want to like clean your house, fine. You don't want to like be healthy, fine. But you know, there was always like a basic understanding of you take care of your loved ones.
Mm-hmm.
You protect children. Like you protect children.
Yeah, I always thought that was.
It's like a
everyone's
it's like a
responsibility,
fundamental rule.
Yeah,
Like of life.
protect the children.
Future and the future.
These are people who are going to be running our country. This is our future. Protect the kids. Give them a better future.
I don't understand that, but like I say, what kind of future or what kind of problem exists in the world that I mean, are we saying that there's like hundreds of thousands of people going out there buying children just to do that? Like, I mean, do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, it's
I
really.
mean, apparently it's a big problem, but like, yeah, like, and okay, so there's a whole nother question to this. Like, does our government know about this? Does our government know what's going on? Does our government protect people? Was Jeffrey Epstein, was he a part of this? Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
And that's even a different beast. If you wanted to go down the Jeffrey Epstein route, I mean, the fact of the matter that so many people in Hollywood and officials,
So,
government officials, royalty.
there's like whispers of there's whispers of like these people doing it. Whispers of, like you say, a royalty.
Yeah,
whispers
there's
of
whispers of-
Hollywood people like abusing children and having sex with children,
Or
like
even-
against their will.
or even not even even related to Jeffrey Epstein.
Rich
You
people,
still have
like-
that whisper that there's something wrong with Hollywood. That there's
With the kid actors.
yes, kid actors.
Corey Haim came out about that before he died.
Mm-hmm.
Big time.
Poor guy is all messed up. He was so messed up, and you have to wonder, like, what the hell happened to that poor guy?
Yeah.
Like, and then you have like even this is a really good movie, but whatever happened to Brendan Fraser, where it later on came out that he was like raped.
Wait, he was raped?
Brendan Fraser,
What?
look it up.
I'm going to now.
Yeah.
Like, when did you hear about this?
Yeah, like him as a male. Like,
Because Brendan Fraser,
have you seen that one movie? Well,
not yet.
phenomenal.
But he's
Phenomenal
Brendan
movie.
Fraser's like a guy's guy. He's not like a little guy. He's not like
No.
a femme guy. He seems very masculine. Like he was strong.
And then he went down like a depression path because of him. I guess he was assaulted or raped. Or,
Okay, no, this I heard about.
Mm-hmm.
So there's sexual assault allegations about a groping incident, and I don't. It wasn't until like much later he said these allegations have happened that HFPA ex-president sexually assaulted him. I don't know what the HFPA
assaulted him, or so he wasn't raped. Maybe I misunderstood.
You know what I mean?
But yeah, but still, I mean, who does that?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know, and I'm just trying to look it up. But so he wasn't raped, but he was groped and sexually assaulted.
Sexually
And,
assaulted to me,
yeah.
it seems like rape.
It
It,
does
just,
seem like
it seems like something that just sexually unwanted.
I've had this conversation lately with people like when you say stuff or do stuff, and you're like saying, "Oh, that was not my intention. My intention wasn't for you to feel like you were scared. My intention wasn't for you to be threatened, or my intention wasn't for you to feel like you wasn't to be understood that way." And I've had these conversations lately where it's like, "Yeah, that's not your intention, but it's not so much a matter of what your intention was, but it's also the person that is the victim and how they perceived your attention. Did they feel threatened in any ways? Did they take it this way anyways?" And we all have to be conscientious of that because, maybe.
I'm gonna end up finishing that. It's delicious.
It is delicious.
I'm like, oh yeah.
Maybe a guy is dancing with a girl and she's dancing a little bit too close to her and she's feeling uncomfortable, right? and he's not reading it right, so he's just trying to really grind on her.
Yeah.
So suddenly, weeks later, she comes out and says like, "Oh, he groped me," and he's like, "Well, we were just dancing. That was not my intention." And it's like, we're in a day and age where you need to be smart enough to know, like, you have to understand, like, if be conscientious of the person that like you're with. Are you assaulting them? Are they going to feel assaulted even though it's not your intention? You have to be socially aware enough as to what you're putting out there and how it's being received.
I don't know if a lot of people are built to think about other people other than themselves, and I don't know if that comes with life experience or
Maybe,
just maturity, or I'm not sure where that comes from, but like,
but it's kind of true though. You have to know how the person's receiving it. You do, because if that person feels violated, it has to, when they look at these situations, they're like, well, this person felt violated. This person felt, well, that was not my intention. But that's what happened. You made this person feel this way, and you need to be socially aware enough so that this person, if this person is putting off the signal that they're uncomfortable, you need to be aware of that.
I think that's where.
But that gets hard, I guess, right?
Well, I like I say, I really don't know if it's. Some people are just smart enough, or just maybe they just know, and people, I guess maybe it just comes down to like the basic skill of knowing not to hurt others or hurt them. And I don't know. It's like either you understand it or you don't, or you don't. Yeah. I don't know if it's upbringing. It's really hard to say.
It's really difficult, right?
I never really know.
But you know what is clear cut though?
The word no.
I was going to say, but what we're talking about, the word no is very clear cut. It's very direct. But also this whole thing we're talking about, like child slavery, child sex trafficking, they're children.
You're taking away their right to be
and
kids.
It's something that never
humanity.
comes back.
You're taking away their humanity.
Yeah, like.
Well, I didn't know we were going to go down this road, but
that's like deep, right? It gets deep, right?
Yeah, I was like, why?
Yeah, okay. You know what I think the average person can do about it? You know, because your average person is not going to go get a gun and be like, let's go hunt down these pedophiles and these slave traders for pedophilia, but I think if more people want to make an impact, they should definitely be the ones calling up their congressmen, their legislators, their representatives, and saying like, you're my elected official. And this needs to be important to you. And we need to have more funding, more oversight, more transparency in all this. And we need to get law enforcement involved in this in a deeper way than we already are. We did a war on drugs in the 80s, which billions of dollars were pumped into.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
And you're not saying we can't do the same thing for this sex slave trade to save the lives of children? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, I think the average person, that's saying like, well, what can I do about it? Well, it's a tough thing because there are people that go after them, but not everybody can go after them because it's dangerous. And it's like, and you can't just go assault somebody saying like, I think you're a sex slave trafficker. Let me go assault you because then you're going to be in a world of trouble yourself. So I think the average person, like I say, and I say this a lot to a lot of people, I don't think a lot of people actually do it, but call your legislator, call your senators, call your congressman, and put the heat on them to get involved with this and do something about it. Because, your legislator does stuff if they feel the heat from their constituents.
No, they will.
They do,
And I've seen it. I've seen it when
it's amazing.
When people do advocate for themselves and they know to call their state officials, it really does move mountains.
It really does move mountains. You're right. So, I think that's probably a good place to leave that off at, but like so do something about it, people, and get involved.
Because next time we have our other
he wants to talk about UFOs.
Yeah, and I think our partner in crime wants to be here for that because he was like, wait a minute.
Well,
and he had to leave, but I think that we can probably get into a really good conversation with.
I think so. I shouldn't eat in the mic. I have like munchies and crackers here. Now I worry about the crunching of it. Like
You hear it in your head because I don't hear it.
You don't hear it?
I don't hear it. But when I was eating a cracker earlier, I'm like, oh my gosh, these guys can hear the.
You're
the
right.
crunch.
You do hear it in your head.
Yeah, but I don't hear it.
You don't hear me eating it? Oh, that's
No.
good to know. Thank goodness.
No, I didn't hear it.
So you're saying UFO is a cover for other stuff?
I'm thinking it's a cover for. It could be a potential cover for a lot of things.
Where are you going with that? Give me a direction, because like if we're going to come back and retouch base on this, I would definitely like to have another I would like to know where to take this.
Well, I mean, here you have. Okay, so you're hearing on the news in the U.S. that yes, that the existence of UFOs has been confirmed. You see it on C-SPAN. You saw footage. You saw, or maybe you heard the conversations where, yes, it's yes, we have UFOs. We've have non-human.
Right.
We have, I guess, there's bodies, or we've seen it, whatever. I don't know what they're doing. I didn't get to the part. I just know that they had possession of it. So what could it potentially be a cover for? I mean, yes, it could. Honestly, do I think that it's true? Yeah, I've always believed in UFOs. I always believed.
Maybe they want to take heat off Hunter Biden's cocaine being found in the White House.
That's exactly what I'm thinking. It has something to do with the president and how people are looking at him and looking about all of this. With all of this crap that he's been doing. Of course, I think it's taking focus off of like the president.
Oh, absolutely. Look, okay, that is a bunch of crap as it is. Like, we don't know whose cocaine this is in the White House. Really?
Oh my gosh.
You're talking probably like one of the most secure buildings in the world, and suddenly the Secret Service is going to close the investigation on it because they don't know where it came from.
There's a lot of things happening there.
You know what? The Secret Service needs to be held accountable for playing politics. People need to get fired.
I just think that. And no one seems shocked, but no one cares that there's UFOs. Everyone's like, finally.
Everybody, the majority of Americans, people around the world, are like, yes, we know there's weird stuff out there.
Duh.
Thank you for telling us that.
But,
finally looking at it.
Well, finally, we're not crazy.
Okay, I think there are skeptics. I think there are skeptics that say, like, well, unless I can touch it, feel it, taste it, write in it, talk to them. You know what I mean?
Right in it.
But
taste it, smell it.
I think there are
Touch it.
skeptics that are 100% saying, oh, you see a light in the sky? Do you know if it was an airplane or a helicopter? No. Do you know what it was? Oh, you don't know what it was. Well, obviously it's not going to be a UFO because you don't know if it's a UFO. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you don't know it's not an airplane, but you don't know it's not a flying saucer, then you can't say it's a flying saucer because you don't even know that either. So you have those kind of skeptics. Then you have the other people that are like, well, I'm pretty sure it's not a plane or a helicopter. So it's got to be a UFO.
But there's just so much that.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think that we should continue down this rabbit hole for sure.
But
which I love talking about things that.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
It's fascinating. I don't know. I really like it.
Kind of looping back around, though.
Mm-hmm.
We know cocaine was found in the White House.
The guy likes to party. For God's sakes, dude, he's doing cocaine, so what?
I know.
I mean...
You look at...
He
broke the law. Now hit him with the book like you would anybody else.
So what?
Hit him with the book.
I mean, not... Really, I'm going to be very honest. I don't care that he... Honestly... Yes, it's a... Yes, you know what? I'm sorry, but that can't be what they're... I mean, I think that can't be it. There's a cover for something else. It's something else.
What? So
cocaine,
no.
Please. Cocaine,
so here's
please.
the deal. Okay. If cocaine is illegal for all Americans, the guy on the street, he gets popped with cocaine, he's going to go to jail. If the guy down the street is going to go to jail for cocaine, guess what? The son of the president should go to jail too.
Well, he should. He should.
Do you know what I mean?
Really think
whether you think
that's worthy of a UFO cover-up?
No,
I mean,
I
think it has to be something more than just cocaine.
Right.
I mean, what rich kid in America, haven't you not heard, has had cocaine?
Now, did President Biden sell himself to the Chinese and bad deals and get money from all sorts of people?
That's what I think.
Were government around the world suddenly has strings to pull on Biden because he took money?
I think that's what they're trying to probably cover up. Yes, I think that's more of a security threat.
I think so too.
Than cocaine. I mean, not to say that cocaine is like not illegal, but that's kind of like do some jail time, get a fine.
But we're saying that the UFO agenda is being used to cover up the president.
That's what I think.
But you know what? The UFO agenda is not new.
Or it has something to do with
the UFO.
It's a diversion, and it kind of happened.
I remember
we talked
watching,
about thinking this about the balloons.
I remember watching.
We had this conversation with the balloons,
that.
and
I know, but hold on. I remember watching Unsolved Mysteries as a kid with Robert Stack.
I loved Unsolved Mysteries.
What was that? Early 90s, late 80s, early 90s?
I used to also like...
maybe like early 90s, like 1990, right? Think about Unsolved Mysteries.
John Walsh too, though.
Right. Oh, yeah. So Unsolved Mysteries, I'm just going to put it in Google, see when Unsolved Mysteries came out, right?
Yeah.
Because here's the deal. Unsolved Mysteries started sometime in the 90s. I remember watching it when I was a kid. And Unsolved Mysteries, they had a case about UFO abduction.
Oh, yeah, they did.
First episode
They
date,
always did.
1987. So what was the agenda in 1987 then?
No, I think that Unsolved Mysteries was one of those things where they also not only did crimes, but they also
Missing.
did paranormal or
Right.
the weird stuff.
But hold on.
No
I'm making a connection, though.
Okay.
You say this whole UFO story is being used as a
Diversion for something else.
Okay.
Maybe we're
President,
thinking small.
politics, whatever. So but the UFO thing is not new to 2023.
Yeah, but it's
Here it is in
being
Unsolved Mysteries. Unsolved Mysteries. And back in those days, there was a lot more alien abductions talked about than
But you
are
don't
now.
have the government actually acknowledging it.
Matter
the big
of fact, the
difference.
government was saying they were hiding it.
Yes, and that's the thing. Like now, this is supposed to be big news. Like, oh wow, the government finally is saying yes, it exists. Or like they're not saying it doesn't exist.
Okay,
That's the difference. Unsolved Mysteries, yeah, they've shed light on it,
right.
and probably great other people already know about it. But that's the thing; everyone speculates, but it's never officially been said in a government way that yes. Oh, by the way, yeah, you're right. Or no, they didn't say it like that.
Yeah.
But,
But the Congress is mandating the Pentagon has to report on it now to get their money.
Yes. And that is something that has been all
But when did
over
that start?
the news.
When did that start?
Actually, I freaking don't know.
That started with Donald Trump.
Did it?
He was the one that pushed to make that transparency with UFO reporting be made to Congress so that the Department of Defense can get their money. He's the one that said we can no longer hide this from people. So that's why it's getting more and more traction because Donald Trump made that a part of like them getting their money. They had to report it to the Congress.
I just think sometimes that. Sorry, I'm just thinking with like the existence of Space Force and all of this crap. Why the hell do they have a Space Force if they weren't preparing for something stupid like alien?
I mean,
Space Force.
Do you want to? Okay, so there's a theory.
Space Force, seriously.
I have to think about it because I didn't write notes on this. But there's like a conspiracy theory that the United States has spacecraft in outer space. They have like a whole space fleet already that goes deep space.
Oh, I've never heard that one.
And it's not a new theory.
Really?
Yeah.
I've heard the theory of already having alien technology.
There's theory that we already have put bases on Mars.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. You know the theory about the moon.
What's the theory about the moon?
So people like tried to debunk the whole moon thing. The moon thing. We couldn't go to the moon.
Oh yeah, that was something just so they can
and I talked to my friends about this.
To beat the space race and make sure that
that we just made up the story just to beat the USSR, but we really didn't do it. And I tell my friends is like, but you're not smart enough to know.
Yeah, that's true.
You don't know the science there. They're saying, well, we can't get to the Van Allen belts because they too much radiation and gets to like 10 million degrees. Like, yeah, but we could put satellites deep into space, like the James Webb satellite, and it didn't melt. So how did it get through the Van Allen belt if it didn't melt? Well, I don't know. So it's like you're coming up with all these ideas about whether we went to the moon or not. And quite frankly, you or I are not smart enough to determine that we went to the moon or not.
That's true. I wouldn't know.
But there are scientists that say that you can calculate how much fuel it'll take to get to the moon. You could calculate the gravity and all that, you know, the distance traveled. So we have the math that can prove it. So if we have the math and the material science can get us there, so it's more plausible than not. And so one of the leading theories is like, yeah, we probably went to the moon. Yeah, we probably made video in case we didn't go.
Well, why wouldn't we make it to the moon? You have aircrafts.
Right.
Well, I mean, it's not that like far-fetched at this point in our life. Why would that?
There's a couple of reasons why, right? A, the technology. A, to carry enough oxygen, enough fuel to get there, to get back.
But if you can do the math, and you can...
Right.
If you can do the math,
and
because it always comes down to the math.
And the material science in the 70s.
It's definitely very plausible. A lot of things are possible now.
Right. And I think a lot of things were possible then too.
Yeah.
A lot of things were possible then too. And so
oh, this sperm.
But you know, but along with the moon theory is like, okay. So and I go along with the idea of like, you know, I think we did go. I think that I think that we probably had videos made of in case we didn't go. Mm-hmm. That way we had something to show the Russians in case things did go bad. I think that's possible too. But then there's this whole conspiracy theory where they purportedly have like transmissions from astronomers where they're like they see stuff on the moon, like aliens on the moon, alien bases. And so there's a whole nother conspiracy theory based off the conspiracy theory of the moon of us not going or not going back because there's life already there. There's alien bases there. And especially on the backside of the moon, because the moon
I think we can all create a conspiracy theory.
Oh, I think so.
With just enough imagination, I can tell you, I have one on the tip of my mind. What if Earth was created as a form of slavery for our species? There you go.
That's already one that's already out there. You didn't make it.
Oh, dang it!
The whole Anunnaki they created humanity as a slave race to serve them and to mine gold for them because they need gold dust to put in their atmosphere.
Oh, damn. Okay, never mind.
I
don't feel like I'm contributing to that.
But it kind of goes to the whole idea that no ideas are new anymore.
That's true. That's true. I may have heard it somewhere. And probably just now remembered.
So
who knows?
There are two theories that have a lot of heat. And the matter of fact is President Eisenhower, his daughter is like a proponent to one of the Mars conspiracy theories that we have taken people to Mars. The daughter or granddaughter of President Eisenhower. I want to say it's the daughter of President Eisenhower. This is not like, you know, Joe Blow from down the street, or this is not like the girl that's studying biology at NMSU or at the college or working at Starbucks. This is like somebody that's brought up in politics that says like, look at in front of the camera, in front of people, you're taught to be a certain way because it's all politics. Yet she comes out saying that there are these conspiracy theories where we take people to Mars, and that it's true. It's happened. It's happening.
Taking people to Mars for what?
There's this guy. Oh man, I have to look it up. Like I say, I have to look it up. But you know that they've gone there, and that they fought like alien races there, like monsters. Some people get killed, and that part of it
is like a war on Mars.
The part of it that is what do you call it? That part of it is that you when you agree to spend like 10 years there, you come back and you have all sorts of money and all that, but you also, part of it is they get to wipe out your part of your memory so you don't remember it. Like there's I'm looking for it.
You don't remember going to Mars? What's the point? What's the point?
I'm trying to look it up now. So let's see. Oh God, I get so much now. Yeah. See, I have to the Secret Mars Colony. Maybe this is it, but I have to look it up because there's just. I have to look up the names and all to get it right. But there was like this conspiracy theory that we've gone to Mars and we've been there and da da da. We've, you know. Anyways, I'll look it up for next time.
Yeah, and we should probably not go further down.
And then the one about the secret space force too.
Oh, I think we need to probably do some research on this. I think we need to come up with some new stuff, just like weird space stuff, UFO stuff. I think that's our homework.
So I think in terms of this week, just because it's been in the news, David Grouch is a government guy. Mm-hmm. He filed complaints with one of the federal offices regarding like abuse, that like the CIA and certain government officials were harassing him for coming out about releasing these government secrets about UFOs. Mm-hmm. So these complaints were actually taken serious. They're recorded and they're being investigated. And the head of this office that investigates these complaints, he actually came out and said something to the extent of like, yeah, these complaints are legitimate and these people are threatening your life. So suddenly you have somebody that came out saying it. And usually like when you get people that say like blow the lid, they're saying, and they're threatening me. It's like, oh, you're just crazy. You're making this all up. No. He actually filed the complaints with the federal government, with the department that investigates like these complaints. They actually came out with a statement saying like, yes, these are credible threats against you that we need to investigate. So things are like falling in line with it with this David Grouch guy. Then he goes to Congress and he tells them like, I can tell you this, but we've done this, we found these bodies, this is happening. The reason why that's not being reported to you is because of compartmentalization of the defense contract companies that get it. But it's not like secret, it's not any like super secret, top secret classification that you don't have. It's just normal top secret stuff that we deal with, but because it's part of this department that has a sub department that has like a, you know what I mean? Yeah. He says they use the system to hide it. And he goes, that's why it doesn't get reported to you. And they're, you know, so he's coming out with all this stuff and it'll be interesting to see where it goes. Yeah. But it's coming out. There's remember I said the word, there's a quickening. The quickening meaning more and more is coming out and it's coming out faster and faster. I think this quickening thing is happening more and more. And like I say, in our lifetime, I think we will have the government definitively tell us, yes, there is life out there. And yes, marijuana will be legalized in the United States. I think there's things we'll see in our lifetime. And
I think so. I think so too.
But along with that, I was listening to an interview with George Norrie. Do you know who George Norrie is?
No, but those tequila worms are delicious.
Tequila worms are good. George Norrie is the host of Coast to Coast Radio. Okay. Really cool guy. You listen to him. He has people on. He's from like midnight to 3 o'clock in the morning. George Norrie? And they talk about everything from Bigfoot to aliens to like you name it, they talk about it. It's very fascinating, very well put together. You can listen to it like on podcast format, Coast to Coast AM. Mm-hmm. And so I was listening to like a video clip of George Norrie, and hopefully it's not anything AI or anything, right? But he came out, they said, what is going on with this? What do you think all this is? And he says, it would not surprise me that there's a hybridization going on right now that we're unaware of. Do you know what hybridization is? Alien hybridization?
Alien
hybridization. It's an idea that
it would mean that aliens, they're already here and they're just like
they're genetically breeding aliens with human beings with characteristics of humans, so that we could be sitting here with a third person that's an alien and we wouldn't know because they look completely human. Mm-hmm. And he's saying like in this interview he says something to the extent, and I'm just paraphrasing it, something to the extent he goes, it would not surprise me if aliens came out of the sky and there's like tens of thousands of them that are alien hybrids that have been genetically modified to look like us, to survive on this planet. And now they're going to come back and take over our planet because they're ready to do so. And it's like, oh,
weird.
So how do they beat us? They beat us from inside by being like us.
To basically, and it wouldn't be that hard. Just cause some drama. And
I mean, if your technology was that advanced and you could do stuff like that, which I think our technology is heading
to me,
there.
It just sounds like it would be like a social breakdown. It wouldn't be necessarily. It would be like strategizing for a social breakdown. And just
It would be a matter of like fighting this alien civilization, but they look like us. So trying to be able to identify them, knowing that they're not humans. So like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like such a fantastic idea. But, you know, if you listen to Coast to Coast, like I've listened to Coast my whole life.
that just seems like a lot of freaking work.
But if you were like a civilization from millions of miles away, that means your technology were advanced enough, you could do it.
Yeah. I'm just thinking in my brain.
Like,
it just seems like a lot of work.
It's like
can't you just,
my brain's breaking. My brain's broken.
brain is. I mean, to me, if I'm looking at destroying a civilization as an alien, why can't you just like take over? You really want to go that far and like infiltrate?
You know,
and, like,
you know who does that?
Suppose.
You know who posed that theory? You ever watch infographics on YouTube? Again, for our viewer and a half, assuming there's a little person.
Aww.
It's called infographics. And they do series on like JFK assassination or what happens if this happens, what happens with it. Well, they did like a 5-part series of an alien invasion, surviving the first 100 days of an alien invasion, surviving the first 100 to 200 days of an alien invasion. And they talk about like how aliens invade Earth and that they have superior technology, but their technology isn't fit for Earth. But that aliens weren't good soldiers because maybe their technology was so advanced they didn't have to like fight other planets. Like if you invaded Earth, you'd have to fight humans. Now humans have been fighting our whole history, so we have advanced military tactics and all that, and we could. So if they came on the Earth and they wanted to take the Earth intact, they would have to fight us. But we were better at fighting with them, even though their technology is better.
Because they don't want to blow up. I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
Well, they wouldn't want to blow the Earth up because they would want to take it whole, capture it like intact, right?
But even like if their technology is better, can't they just like zap humans? Like to.
But you would still have to zap them. You'd still have to find them to zap them, right?
Yeah, that's true.
And they're saying that our military was better at fighting them than they were until they got better. And this whole infographic series is about like how humanity fights aliens and how they get the upper hand, then we get the upper hand, then they get the upper hand. Them because they have better technology, us because we're better at fighting. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's kind of an interesting series. If I could find the videos, I'll put the links on the content there, information about the podcast. But it's an interesting idea that somebody said, like, what would happen if they wanted to take Earth and it was intact, and you had to survive 1,000 days of this alien invasion? And it talks about how, like, you know, that our special forces and our military and overseas, how they're doing. Like Russia tried to use an atomic bomb, so the aliens used their bigger weapons to wipe out the Soviets.
So maybe our next podcast should be about like creative ideas on how to survive an alien invasion.
Like how to survive any of it. Because like think about if AI took over, how are you going to survive AI?
Maybe it should be
if aliens took over, how do you survive aliens? Like you think about, because AI is advanced software.
Yeah.
And then if it's like Skynet and it can make itself like advanced technology and all that, how would you survive that? If aliens already came from another planet, they would already have advanced everything. How would you survive that? I mean, you could even throw in the whole thing. If an asteroid hit the Earth, how are you going to survive that, right? But and then you come down to like everyday life. How do you survive what's going on in the world right now? Inflation's increasing. Milk costs more.
It's so freaking hot outside too. We're going through a heat wave.
We're going through, and you know what the federal government's response to that is? They want to put solar sails in the atmosphere to block the sun. The Biden wants to block the sun from heating the Earth. Granted,
this is a Simpsons episode, by the way.
Like, I mean, it's not the hottest heat wave we've had.
No, it's not. It's hot out there right now because we've gone from like not so hot, and all of a sudden it's just triple digit for.
I mean, Okay.
many days in a row, and
Cities get hot because there's a lot of asphalt and cement, and they don't cool off at night because they hold so much heat. Sun activity. There's like so many factors. You know, it used to be called global warming, but then everybody was screaming global warming, except the satellite data wasn't correlating to global warming. So then they started calling it climate change. You know, I think Earth has natural cycles. I think the sun has natural cycles. I think we do contribute to it, and we do have some sort of impact. I mean, are we the only driving force? I don't think so. Can we have an impact on it? I do think so.
I think it's been really hot outside, but I've also felt like we've
It's
managed
also been-
hot weather.
Now, in
before.
our area, it's been really humid lately. So even if it's not as hot today as it was yesterday, if it's humid, it's going to feel hotter.
Yeah, I feel like we've experienced something similar. It's hot right now.
I don't
But,
know. Okay. So here's the plan. Next time we come back, we're going to talk about survival.
Survival.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dang, and I'm not very good at this. So I got to do a lot of research. So I'm gonna go.
So needless to say, in our survival episode, Jeanette dies.
But I'm gonna go out just like.
But Mark
Okay.
capitalizes on Jeanette dying because he makes her into like a hamburger, and he says, "Okay, Dario, we got food for another couple of days."
And this is a conversation I've had with you before about you stop eating your friends. Do not eat your friends. Why is it that every time we talk about survival, it always comes down to cannibalism? Every time. This is off this, but every time it always comes down to cannibalism.
You know, there is a movie
Dang it.
I need to look up about that. Like, imagine a massive solar catastrophe happens that starts wiping stuff out on Earth, right? And this father is trying to protect his son as like food supplies, plants no longer grow, and everything's on fire and everything's dying, and this father's trying to protect his son. And part of protecting his son is like, as they're traveling, trying to find food, they're also hiding from people that are like cannibalizing on people too.
Dang, you're a part of the cannibalizing group.
Dang
you.
I wouldn't cannibalize everybody. I'm looking for the movie.
At least I'm this arm right here. It is going to be delicious for. I shouldn't say that out loud. Someone's going to come find me. They're like, her arm is delicious. It's terrible.
Is it The Happening? No, The Happening's
The
not
Happening
it.
was a really
That was
good
cool.
movie.
That was
I
really
like that
cool.
movie.
I think it was before The Happening though. Because he wasn't the main actor, but he was like towards the end he comes out like, you know, that he finds a kid after like the dad dies or something like that. You know what I mean? Oh man, I'm trying to find it. Oh, maybe it's a Netflix movie. I'll find it and then we'll end on this.
All right. We got to tell our partner in crime that he needs to come up with some sort of survival tactic. I have a feeling y'all are going to like obviously win at this, but I'm going to do some research.
Okay, Mark Wahlberg, End of the World movie.
Oh, that was a good one.
The one that comes up is The Happening, but that's not the.
That's not the one. That was wasn't that?
This is the one. The Happening is the one about the mass suicides.
Oh yeah, that was an M. Night Shyamalan one.
That was really interesting. The one the Happening. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean?
Do you know there's a Bird Box 2 on Netflix now?
What's Bird Box 1? Really? I don't know what Bird. Okay, I can't find this movie.
Okay.
Yeah, but like I say, there's. Dude, I wish I could find it. But like I say, because I know Mark Wahlberg's on there. Because at the end of the movie, like I say, when the father dies, he finds his son, and the son goes with them. You know what I mean?
Oh.
So yeah, but part of it had to do with the father protecting his son, and they're hiding from cannibals. Also, the cannibals are just killing everybody to eat them to survive too.
Dang.
Yeah, it's like a really dark, dreary movie. Yeah, I can't find it. But anyway, okay, that'll be like our topic of our next stuff. I know Elliot. I know or Dario. Or should we call him Dario or Fabio?
Fabio. Fabio.
But that'll be the kind of the gist of it. This whole
Let's call him Fario.
I do think we need to kind of get back to the basics too and talk about maybe things to make people successful in this day and age.
Oh, and I've been reading up on that.
Yeah, I know. So have I. So I think it'd be nice in a future episode to kind of get back to the basics on that too, because I think for the last 4 or 5 episodes, we've definitely gotten off like the beaten path and kind of gone.
Well, we've been
rogue.
going off with we've definitely gone rogue.
Yeah.
Definitely been entertaining these things that we see out there and what we read and what's out there. I definitely am fascinated by it. But at the same time, I do read as far as like leadership and
absolutely, right?
Yeah, so I actually we can get back to that because there's a lot of cool things that I've done and learned and
Oh, absolutely. You know what I mean? And so I think we should do a show pretty soon about that and just kind of like I say, get back to the basics. You know what I mean?
But next time it should be survival basics.
Yeah, we'll do the survival basics first.
Which I'm gonna
and then,
But I'll come up with some really interesting ideas, so let's entertain that. All right. So,
okay. Well, I'm going to put my phone down because I'm looking for this movie and I can't find it. Once we get off, I'm sure it'll come up and I'll be like, dang it. Which I think everybody knows how that happens. You find it after the point. Anyway.
This is fun, dude.
It was cool.
Our glasses are empty.
Our glasses are empty.
Margarita.
The drinks were good.
Cucumber,
good call. Good
margarita.
drinks. What was it called? A watermelon cucumber margarita.
It was all done with fresh fruits.
Which was supposed to have
great.
a little bit of jalapeno, but we chose
And it had lime.
not to.
Not to.
But it was really good. You did a good job on that, and I was really pleased by it. Cool.
It was good.
That was fun.
All right.
Cool.
I love it.
Love
Bye.
it. Bye.